The bride is getting married in May and asked me to be her bridesmaid over the summer. I was ecstatic and of course said yes. Background: I dated one of the groomsmen, who also happens to be officiating the wedding, seriously for 5 years. We split amicably back in February due to me traveling for work, us struggling with long distance, and simply growing apart. He and I had never ever fought, like really fought, through the entire relationship and breakup. We see each other quite often because we share the same friends and a dog that we both love and agreed to co-parent. When we see each other, we simply catch up like friends, and it's never been an issue. Until November. We got into an argument. A lot of pent-up feelings came up. Him expressing hurt about me leaving. Me being frustrated that he never conveyed those feelings to me or asked me to stay. That turned into anger toward one another. A couple of days later, we made up and hugged it out. And this all happened in private, by the way. But of course, we talked to our friends about it, so they knew. So the bride has understandably been having a lot of anxiety about us at the wedding and worried something between us will come up. She has, however, not talked to me at all about it. I tried talking to her while the fight was going on, but was pretty much met with silence. My other girlfriends were very supportive and gave me advice, despite their significant others also being friends with my ex. It was a tricky situation because we are all friends, but I wasn't asking anyone to take sides, just really needed a friend in that moment, and didn't get that from her. So instead of talking to me and just asking where ex and I stand, she's nixed me from the bridal party and disinvited me from the wedding altogether. And ended it with, "I love you. You're one of my closest friends. I just have to think about me and my wedding right now." I'm trying to be understanding that she has wedding brain. She has anxiety, and she has every right to be stressed about me and my ex together, but I can't help feeling so hurt that she doesn't trust me as a friend to be 100% there for her on her wedding day. Is it really terrible of me not to go to her shower? Like, I just really don't want to spend money on a gift after this laugh my butt off, especially when I feel like I've already put a lot into this friendship that I'm not getting back out. I just watched their obnoxious 1-year-old German Shepherd, who's given me scars, by the way, for 2 weeks while they were abroad for no payment, because I am a good friend like that. So someone stop me from sending a Venmo request right now. Update. Wow, didn't expect so many responses, but appreciate the majority for confirming I'm not the idiot, laugh my butt off. Friendship likely over, and going to talk to the ex tomorrow. It's 2 a.m. where I live now, just to see where he stands on it. Update 2. So I had texted the bride yesterday. After she had told me over coffee, I pretty much teared up, said I have to go, and left. Basically explaining how the ex and I had resolved everything and were good, since we had not talked about it. I figured she might not know, and explaining how hurt I felt that she didn't trust me enough to talk to me first, and humiliated to have been singled out when ex and I are both adults and can handle a conversation together. 24 hours and no response from her. Talked to the ex. He said that he had just heard from the bride and that he was shocked to hear it. He said we are good as far as he's concerned. He's not a petty person, and I believe him when he says he didn't have a hand in any of this. He didn't really say much else, and I didn't push it because it's not fair to him to put him in the middle of girl drama, laugh my butt off. So that's it for now. I really think it's just the bride here. Also, thank you all for the support and kind words. Now, for a few comments before the third update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, and I'm struggling to understand why you think you would be. Your friend, and I'm using the term loosely, made a decision to cut you out of her wedding and disinvite you altogether, but you still feel obligated to get her a gift. She clearly sees your relationship very differently than you do, and it's time to protect yourself and not try to cater to her. You owe her nothing, and I really would recommend taking space from her. Comment 2. You would not be an idiot. The bride is insane. Is she okay? Why do brides have to make everyone's life around them miserable, or make every situation about themselves? Have you talked to your ex about this? What does he think of this? She's being unfair, and she's also showing you that she is not your friend. People show their true colors in bizarre ways that make cutting them out of your life easy. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a month since my last post, and let me tell you, a lot has happened. I wish I could say it's all been good, but that's just not how life works, right? So, after the whole disaster with the bride kicking me out of the bridal party and uninviting me from the wedding, things just spiraled. I was trying to keep my cool, but inside, I was a mess. I mean, this was supposed to be one of my closest friends, and she just dropped me like a hot potato. I had to see my ex, the groomsman and officiant, at our dog's vet appointment. We were both there, pretending everything was normal, chatting about the dog's diet and exercise, but the air was thick with unspoken words. After the appointment, he asked if we could talk. I agreed, thinking maybe we could clear the air about everything. We went to a nearby park, the same one where we'd celebrated our 3rd anniversary with a picnic. He started by saying he was sorry about how things turned out with the bride. He said he had no idea she was going to kick me out of the wedding. But then, he dropped a bombshell. He told me he'd been seeing someone. It was a casual thing, he said, but it was getting more serious. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I mean, we'd only broken up in February, and now he was seeing someone else? And not just anyone, but one of our mutual friends. Someone who had been comforting me through the whole wedding drama. I couldn't believe it. I felt betrayed. Not just by him, but by her too. I didn't know what to say. I just got up and left. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with the fact that while I was being kicked out of weddings and losing friends, he was moving on like nothing had happened. The next few weeks were rough. I tried to keep myself busy, but it was hard. I kept thinking about the wedding, about my ex, about everything. I couldn't escape it because our friends kept talking about it. They were all excited, getting their outfits ready, planning the bachelor and bachelorette parties, and I was just not part of it. Then, one day, I ran into the bride at the grocery store. It was awkward, to say the least. She tried to be friendly, asking how I was doing, but I could tell she was just trying to ease her own guilt. I was polite, but distant. I didn't want to cause a scene in the middle of the produce section. A few days later, I heard from one of the other bridesmaids that the bride had been having second thoughts about kicking me out of the wedding. She was feeling the pressure of the upcoming day and was worried she'd made a mistake. But instead of reaching out to me, she was venting to the other bridesmaids. I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me wanted to be vindicated, to have her come crawling back and admit she was wrong. But another part of me was just so tired of the drama. I didn't want to be part of a wedding where I was just an afterthought, where my presence was a point of contention. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, my ex reached out to me again. He said he wanted to talk, that he'd made a mistake. He said the thing with our mutual friend was over, that it had been a rebound, and he realized he still had feelings for me. I didn't know what to do. I still had feelings for him too, but everything was so messed up. Our friends were involved, the wedding was looming, and I just didn't know if I could trust him again. We met up, talked for hours. It was like old times, but with this undercurrent of sadness and regret. We both cried, admitted we missed each other, but we also acknowledged that too much had happened. We couldn't just go back to the way things were. In the end, we decided to keep things civil for the sake of our friends and our dog, but we knew we couldn't be together. Not now, maybe not ever. It was heartbreaking, but it was the right thing to do. So, here I am, a month later, still trying to pick up the pieces of my life. The wedding is next month, and I won't be there. My ex is officiating, and I'm sure it'll be a beautiful day for the bride and groom. As for me, I'm just trying to move on, to find some sort of normalcy in the chaos of the past few months. My sister begged for forgiveness, but after her toxic lies, I just smiled and closed the door. Her shock was palpable as the truth unfolded. My former stepmother, my late father's widow, is terminally ill. I have not seen her since his death 7 years ago. I kept minimal contact with my half-siblings, 15 and 16 years old, through her, but not closely either. My relationships with them were complicated, and I do not care for the woman at all. My former stepmother's brother contacted me and told me she needs someone to take care of her now, and it should not fall on my half-siblings, and cannot fall on him, as he lives in another state. Her condition is terminal, and they believe she has less than a year left. I was told by her brother that I should take responsibility for helping to care for her, given she was my stepmother for many years of my life, and she is the mother to the 2 kids. I should be willing to take in once she has passed. He told me refusing to care for their mother is going to permanently end my relationship with them. For those wondering about background, my mom and my former stepmother were very close friends, and before my mom's death, my former stepmother and father betrayed her by carrying out an affair. I overheard the fight when my mom found out the truth. Once my mom had passed, my former stepmother decided to create a huge scene at my mom's funeral and insulted my mom's parents and insulted her sisters for saying my former stepmother had no place at the funeral. She tried to say, as my future stepmother and my mom's closest friend, she would always have a place. I called her names that day. She told me I would regret it one day. That day has never come. But she did revel in telling me all my mom's flaws after she and my dad married. I never saw Dad the same way either. But he refused to let the relationship go completely and did his best to maintain contact once I left his house. He died when I was 20. I told him I would not care for his sister, and I made it very clear to him that I was not going to make her end of life any easier than she made my mom's. My half-siblings called me and told me their mom was asking for me, and they were scared and wanted me to be there at the end. They said she needs someone to help her, and they can only do so much with school, that they hate leaving her alone. I told them I was sorry and I knew what it was like to watch your mom slowly fade, but that I was not the one to do it. My half-brother asked if I didn't love her at all after all this time. I said no. He told me to stay the hell away then, and from them as well. My father's sister heard about all that happened, and she told me I should be more mature than that, and I should be more loving and compassionate to my half-siblings. She told me I should love them more than I hate their mom, and agree to care for her to make their next year a lot less stressful. When I refused, she called me a cruel and selfish person, and she told me I was behaving like the very person I hated the most. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I was told by her brother that I should take responsibility for helping to care for her, given she was my stepmother for many years of my life, and she is the mother to the 2 kids. I should be willing to take them in once she has passed. Did he mention how he came up with this delusion? Was it a brain injury, or did he suffer a stroke recently? He told me refusing to care for their mother is going to permanently end my relationship with them. Nice try on emotional blackmail. If only the threat would work. So assholery runs in this family. That is another reason to stay away from these people. Comment 2. You're not a blood relative, and to even think to direct criticism at you just opens up such a floodgate of crushing responses. I'm surprised anyone was dumb enough to try. I'd run with. Although it saddens me that none of her direct relatives are prepared to care for her, it perhaps says a lot about the woman's character that you've reached so far down the list of potential carers that children from the home she wrecked came up. I suggest you continue your search for someone to offload your responsibilities to elsewhere. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a hectic month since then, and a lot has happened. I never expected things to turn out the way they did, but here we are. After I refused to take care of my former stepmother, things got pretty heated with my family. My aunt, my father's sister, was relentless. She kept calling, saying I was being heartless, and that I should think of my half-siblings. She said they were just kids and needed me. But I couldn't shake off the past, the way my former stepmother had treated my mom and the chaos she brought into our lives. Then, out of nowhere, my half-brother called me again. He was crying, saying their mom had taken a turn for the worse. He begged me to reconsider, not for her, but for them. They were struggling to keep up with school and take care of her. I could hear the desperation in his voice, and it broke my heart. I remembered how lost I felt when my mom was sick, and I couldn't help but feel for them. But the past is a powerful thing. I still couldn't bring myself to face her, not after everything. I told my half-brother I'd think about it, but deep down, I knew my answer wouldn't change. A few days later, I got a call from my half-sister. She was furious. She told me that they knew about the affair between our dad and their mom, and how it had hurt me and my mom, but she said that they were innocent in all of this, and that I was punishing them for our parents' mistakes. She said I was just like our father, abandoning them when they needed me the most. That hit hard. I never wanted to be like him, but here I was, repeating history. The next week, my half-brother called again. He said their mom was asking for me, that she wanted to apologize for everything before it was too late. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to tell her it was too late for sorry. But another part of me, a part I didn't recognize, wondered if this was a chance for closure. I agreed to meet her, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. When I walked into that room, I saw a frail woman, a shadow of the person who had caused so much pain. She couldn't speak much, but she managed to say she was sorry. She told me she knew she had been wrong, and that she regretted the pain she caused my mom and me. I sat there, listening to her weak apologies, and I felt something inside me shift. It wasn't forgiveness, not really, but it was a release of some of the anger I'd been holding onto for so long. I didn't say much. I just nodded and left the room. After that visit, I thought things would settle down, but they didn't. My half-siblings were more resentful than ever. They said I had only come to make myself feel better, not for them or their mom. They said I had abandoned them just like everyone else. And maybe they were right. The next few weeks were a blur. My former stepmother's condition worsened, and my half-siblings stopped talking to me altogether. My aunt kept calling, but I stopped answering. I couldn't face her judgment when I was already judging myself. Then, the inevitable happened. My former stepmother passed away. I didn't go to the funeral. I couldn't. It felt like it would be a betrayal to my mom, and I wasn't ready to face my half-siblings or the rest of the family. Now, I'm left with this hollow feeling. I'm not sure if I did the right thing, but I know I couldn't have done it any differently. My relationship with my half-siblings is probably beyond repair, and I have to live with the choices I've made. My boyfriend blew up over my brother's secret. He played the victim, but the twist? He's the liar. Oh boy, tables turn. My 26-year-old female half-brother M and I are not biologically related. I found this out at age 16, but nothing in our family's dynamic changed, and it's not something we really speak about. My boyfriend Dan, together 1 year, found this out over Christmas. We visited my family and has since been really weird about it. He says that first and foremost, he's mad. I never told him. I don't see why it would matter. But he says it's something you would normally share with a partner after being together as long as we have, and he didn't think we had secrets. I don't think this is a secret, or even an omission. It's not some dark family history that you get told once you take an oath. It's an ancillary bit of info that is either relevant or not. No one treats M any differently now that we know. And my dad always knew and didn't care. So why would I go around advertising it? Dan says he looks at my relationship with M totally differently now. He says he feels a bit weird about how he's observed us behaving now, that he knows we're not even related. We are not Folger's siblings, so I don't even know what he's talking about. He says there's a part of him that's wondering if I didn't tell him so that it would make our lack of boundaries less of a red flag. Dan is not a jealous or controlling person in the slightest, so this has me quite shocked. He seems really hurt and worried about it, and I'm wondering if this is a big deal, and I'm just desensitized because it's my own situation. My mother has warned me about being close with M being a red flag to guys, so I'm now second guessing if it really does look from the outside like I was hiding it. The reaction is so out of character for Dan, I'm really starting to feel like I messed up. But at the same time, I also don't get why it's a big deal that we don't share blood. Edit, because I saw a few people asking about what my mother said. She's a bit conservative, so I think she's overreacting. But this whole thing just reminded me. She mentioned it at a time when M and I were living together, and she said men might be uncomfortable because we're roommates, and M is protective of me. We also have matching tattoos, which my mother says is weird, but she also just hates that I have a tattoo, so I don't take that too seriously. And that he gave me a Cartier love bracelet that I wear all the time. Also, he apparently has a habit of touching my neck that she finds weird. I say, apparently. Because, yes, he does this sometimes, to steer me in a crowded room, or a signal if we're in social situations. The same way you would nudge someone under the table to get their attention. But I don't consider it a habit. Edit 2. When Dan said lack of boundaries, he just means I tell M a lot of things and ask for his advice a lot. He does the same with me. It's not related to anything physical. For anyone asking how we were meant to be related, my dad presented M as the son from his short-lived marriage to his ex. M is 9 years older than me, so we thought we were half-siblings. Turns out his mother and my father had separated by the time he was conceived, but my dad went along with M being his son because he wanted a child. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You were raised as siblings. You are siblings. Dan is being really weird and insecure. Many people are close with their siblings. Is Dan an only child by chance? Also, we are not Folger's siblings would make a great flair. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Redditors are going to go crazy though, because everyone here seems to think the worst of everything. Now, for the update. Hey everyone. It's been a tense 3 days since I last posted about the situation with my boyfriend Dan and my not biological brother M. I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting. First off, let me give you a bit of history about M and me. We grew up together, and even after finding out we weren't related by blood, nothing changed for us. We've always been super close, and that's just how our family rolls. M has been there for me through thick and thin, like when I had that nasty flu in high school. And he was the one making me chicken soup and checking my temperature every hour. Now, back to the present. After my last post, things got even more intense. Dan and I had another talk, and he admitted that he's been feeling insecure ever since we visited my family over Christmas. He said seeing Em and me together, knowing we're not actually related, made him question a lot of things. He couldn't shake the feeling that maybe there was more to our relationship. I was shocked. Em and I had never seen each other in that light. But Dan pointed out how Em gave me that Cartier love bracelet and how we have matching tattoos. I tried to explain that the bracelet was a gift for my 21st birthday, a big milestone, and the tattoos were just a fun thing we did on a whim after a concert we both loved. But Dan wasn't convinced. He brought up how Em touches my neck in social situations, and I realized that maybe to an outsider, it could look intimate. I never thought about it that way, because Em has always been like a protective older brother to me. The next day, Em came over to my place because we had planned to hang out and catch up on some TV shows we both follow. I decided to talk to him about everything. Em was taken aback by Dan's concerns, but understood where he was coming from. He said he never wanted to cause trouble in my relationship and suggested maybe he should take a step back for a while. I was torn. Em had been my rock for so long, but I also cared deeply about Dan. That night, Dan came over, and he and Em had a long conversation without me. I don't know everything they talked about, but I could hear raised voices at one point. It was tense. The next morning, Dan told me that he and Em had cleared the air. Em had shared stories about our childhood, like the time he defended me from bullies in middle school, or how he helped me study for my SATs. Dan said it helped him see the brotherly side of Em's actions. But he also admitted that he still felt uncomfortable and needed some time to process everything. That same day, Em announced that he had been thinking about moving to another city for a new job opportunity before all this drama happened. He said he'd made up his mind and would be leaving in a couple of weeks. I was devastated. I felt like I was losing my brother all over again, even though he promised we'd stay in touch. So here we are, 3 days later. Dan and I are trying to work through his feelings of insecurity, and Em is preparing to move away. I'm helping him pack up his things, and we're reminiscing about all the good times we've had. It's bittersweet. I'm happy that Em has this amazing opportunity, but I can't help feeling like this whole situation has driven a wedge between us. Dan has been more affectionate since his talk with Em, and I think he's trying to show me that he trusts me. But there's still this underlying tension that wasn't there before. I'm hopeful that with time, we'll get back to how we were, but right now, it feels like everything's changed. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.